So I'm just going to read a background of his biography. So Mr. Kwidini is a quantity surveyor and a construction manager with over 11 years of hands-on experience in the construction industry. He has earned his Bachelor of Science degree in quantity surveying from National University of Technology in Zimbabwe. His journey has been one of resilience and unwavering commitment. And shortly after his graduation, before his breakthrough in the industry, he spent about 18 months working as a taxi conductor and later as a taxi driver. Those early experiences taught him the true value of hard work, humility, and perseverance. Through consistent effort and dedication, he has achieved significant professional milestones, and in 2023, after 7 years of rigorous development, he qualified as a professional construction manager. And in 2024, he became a professional quantity surveyor after 8 years of focused growth. And most recently, in 2025, he earned the prestigious designation of a Chartered Quantity Surveyor with the Royal Institution of Chartered Quantity Surveyors in the United Kingdom. So today, he's currently based in Durban, where he works and provides consultant services across the construction sector, and having successfully interacted with diverse industries along the way. So what drives him more? What drives him in more than technical expert? He's deeply passionate about mentorship and skills transfer, helping the next generation rise as others once helped him. So in his personal time, he finds joy and renewal in traveling, seeing nature and wildlife adventures, hiking, active sports, watching soccer. These pursuits keeps him grounded and inspired. At the core of everything he does, his core values are honesty, integrity, trust, commitment, and consistency. And he believes that true success is built not just on qualifications, but on character and positive impact that he creates for others. I'm just gonna give him some time as he he's going to present on the world works. Thank you so much. You can take over, Sam.
Good evening, Pastor Liz. Please confirm you can see and hear me.
We can see and hear you, sir. You can go ahead.
All right. Thank you for the warm introductions. Yeah, it was a bit of a long bio, but I guess it then explains how one can attain a skill over time. It's just not a microwave success, but sometimes you have to be resilient and be persistent in what you want to do. You gotta have a purpose. I guess that's why we are here. Based on the theme Women Arise, is we have been listening to Dr. Gilbert speak about having a purpose and run with that purpose with persistence and consistency, because that is what in turn results in results. So basically, my presentation is aligned to the world of work. It's about empowerment, on how we can empower both men and women, youth, such that they align their purpose with the will of God, and also with the opportunities that are out there, knowing exactly which industry to tackle and what to do and what not to do. because you tend to see that nowadays individuals are driven by passions either that they've heard from certain people or what they've seen others do, and what they've seen others achieve in a short space of time without necessarily seeing whether that will take them in on a growth trajectory, whether they'll still be relevant in 2 to 3 years' time or not. So we're basically going to cover the critical skills opportunities that are out there in a few slides. Thank you. I'm just going to go full screen. We'll take questions at the end, so I won't be able to see any hands. But the moderators can just come in and stop me whenever there's a hand that is urgent. Right. So the first slide deals with the critical skills imperative, basically looking at the scarce skills between the period of 2023 to 2026. It hasn't changed much. And you see that the sectors that we're going to deal with, they're not only critical skills in South Africa, but if you do a research, you see that they are also critical in Europe and the Americas. The Americas being your South Americas and your North America, including also your Australia and your New Zealand. So between the period of 2023 to 2026 and even the periods before that, you tend to see that the sectors that have been standing out as having gaps that needs to be filled: ICT, engineering, healthcare, finance, management, project management, and the green economy. And basically focusing on the South African landscape, the labor market snapshot is shown on the pie chart on the right of the screen, is that there's about 32% people that are unemployed, 58% that are employed, and within the critical skills, there's a 10% gap of that has not been filled, of people that would potentially be employed, but there's no pool of people which those industries can draw from. And if you look at the bottom graph there, it shows you that as a percentage, there's about a 30% skills gap overall in the finance and the project management sector, and there's a 20% gap in the healthcare. There's a 70% gap in the ICT, and there's a 40% gap in the engineering, with the percentage that are shown on the graph as the ones that have been filled or that are currently being filled. So the purpose basically is for us to then make informed decisions subsequent to this presentation, and possibly shape our careers in the high demand fields and not only be driven by passions of others or the growing trends. So the next slide is basically showing us the hotspots in terms of the South African landscape across the provinces, and what each province offers in terms of the critical skills gap. So if you're interested in Gauteng, the majority of that province, you see that there's quite a big skills gap in the tech, which is your ICT and the finance hub. Western Cape, innovation and tourism, this involves your Cape Town, where there's a huge gap in the hospitality and tourism sector, with people that actually have qualifications being few. And you can see that if you've been to Cape Town, the majority of people that are employed there would find out that some of them or most of them are actually from outside of Africa because of that gap. Then in KZN, it's largely mixed, but the huge skills gap is in the port and logistics, which is your shipping, cargo, freight, and logistics. Then within your Mpumalanga, which is the mining belt, and other provinces, you see that there's resourcing and engineering, which encompasses electrical, mechanical, and mining engineering, and even metallurgy and geology. Then within the Eastern Cape province, there's manufacturing and auto. You see that most of the manufacturing is concentrated there. Then within the Free State and Northern Cape, it's basically agriculture and energy. Then on this slide is just a snapshot of the top 10 critical skills currently in South Africa. And if you were to do your research, you would see that, like I said earlier, these also will be the top 10 if you go on any critical skills list, whether in Australia, New Zealand, Europe, United Kingdom, or even in America. First being engineering, and there's a huge gap in the engineering sector, which is your civil engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering. I know some are probably wondering, I'm not gonna wait for 4 years to do a degree in civil engineering, electrical engineering, or mechanical engineering, but you actually be surprised that the majority of the gap is on the artisan side. Your 6 months, 12 months, and 18 months courses that can get you N3, N4, N5, N6 certificate, and then apply for your journeyman certificates in those sectors, and you get a job within the next 12 to 18 months, and you can also get then a critical skills visa, etc. Second one is software development. With the coming of AI, there's a huge gap in machine learning and software development. I don't need to elaborate on that. I think we can see the works that AI is doing, and at some point it needs to be controlled and it needs to be developed further than it is currently. So there's a huge gap there across all the countries that I've named and anywhere else in the world. Data science and analytics, yes, that is another point. Cybersecurity, with what's been happening, hacking and all these things, that is becoming a very, very high scarce skill in people that can actually prevent cyber attacks across all sectors. Healthcare professionals, there's your nurse, doctors, pharmacists, etc. Financial management, which involves your accounting, finance, banking, project management, largely within the construction sector. It's a scarce skill, and there's actually not many. I remember I was telling Dr. Gilbert the other time that there's about less than 15 registered professional project managers within the Durban area, and all of them are employed, and about more than 60% of them, they own their own companies. So you then tend to see that there's a very huge gap there within that sector. Then number 8 is
Sorry, Mr. Kwidini, you are muted. Can you please unmute your mic?
sure. I've said a lot. At what point did you not hear me? Can you hear me now?
We
Yes, it's
can hear
perfect.
you. You can continue from number 8.
Oh, okay. I thought you hadn't heard me for some time. All right, thank you. Right. So on number 8, back in the day, it seemed like those trades that I've just mentioned, they were low paying and they were low status jobs. But in this current day and age, they're becoming very high paying and very, very highly sourced, which is plumbing. Like I said, plumbing, electrician, people that can actually do your wiring and do you or issue certificates of compliance for any of your electrical wiring within a house or a factory or whatever building. There's a very huge gap of that, including plumbing, but not only plumbers that know how to do it, but plumbers that are actually qualified. They've got maybe a diploma in plumbing. They go to the Ministry of Higher Education and Tertiary or Ministry of Trades and actually be trade tested and have a trade certificate. Those particular jobs which I'm talking about, they are very, very high in demand, and they are critical skills currently across all the countries that I've mentioned, and they are very quick route to acquiring a critical skills visa, and it's very easy to go towards the permanent residence route in any of those countries. Then the 9th one is green economy or renewables, solar specialist. There's a list of types of jobs that are associated with that and courses you see later. Then the last one is business and people management. Right. So in terms of the courses, my main focus was under 18 months because I know most of the people, if anything exceeds a year and a half, they tend to not want or not be interested in doing it. So these are actually courses that are critical, that take you towards the critical skills visa route, and you can acquire a critical skills, and subsequent to you getting a job, you can actually then apply for a permanent residence permit. The first one under the ICT, you see that the list is basically aligned to that top 10 that I mentioned earlier in the previous slide. Is software development and data analytics. It takes about 6 to 12 months to get a certificate in that. And some of the accredited colleges that offer this year, CETA accredited providers that offer these courses, TVET colleges that are either government registered or privately owned. You just need to check if they are CETA accredited. Just maybe to note that you need to be careful of these fly-by-night colleges that will promise you certificates at the end of 6 months and chow your money. You need to verify that they are CETA accredited. If it's a skill that requires a trade, you need to make sure that it's registered with the QCTO. It's got a QCTO number. If it's a soft skill like your data analytics that doesn't involve practical work, such as your plumbing and electrical, it will then be registered with any of the CETAs that offer that particular course. Right. So those are the examples of the colleges for the software development. TVET colleges, IQ Academy in Durban, Boston City campus, and the outcome or your direction that you take if you pursue that purpose is you then work in ICT and the tech sector, as we mentioned. Second one is cybersecurity fundamentals. That's a type of a course or an example of a course. It takes about 6 to 9 months. Again, you have to enroll on any CETA accredited provider, and you can be an entry-level analyst or in any organization, be it health, industry, tech, banks. Cybersecurity is a big thing. Then mechanical and electrical engineering, like I said earlier, it's not about having a degree, but actually having a certificate or a diploma from NKF level 3 or N3 in terms of certificate to N6, which takes between 12 and 18 months. You can again get a critical skills certification of visa, and in turn a PR after you get a job. And again, it's offered by TVET colleges with some examples in different provinces: Force Bay in Cape Town, Tshwane South in Gauteng, Elangen in KZN. And this is the technician pathway of artisans that we mentioned earlier: electricians, these guys that do service lifts or escalators. I'm sure you've seen them at malls. It's a 12 months and you're already on the job. It's very critical and scarce skills. Then the other one is welding and millwright. This is cutting, welding. It seems like it's a very small job on paper, but it's quite big. If you master it, you can get opportunities anyway, because I can give you examples like car manufacturing. I can give you examples of in ships or in the industry that operate in steel. There's actually a shortage in that course. And again, it's offered by TVET colleges and CETA accredited courses, and it's the route to trade to apprenticeship, and you need to be trade tested to actually be competitive in the market, and it doesn't take long for that trade testing. Then you can get a project management course, which takes between business or project management course that takes between 3 to 12 months, which will then get you through the route of project management through the relevant councils. And if you've got experience, a little bit of experience in the industry, you then shorten your route to become a professional project manager, which is a bit technical, and it takes a little bit long, but to get that course, it takes about 3 to 12 months. Then the second last one is occupational certificate. This is your green energy, which we are speaking about. An example of a course or a certificate is a solar photovoltaic technician. It's an NKF level 5 diploma or certificate. Takes about 12 months. And those are some of the examples of the service providers that offer that course. And you can become a solar PV technician, an installer, or a system designer for solar systems for heavy industries, for homes, for commercial spaces, you name it, under 12 months. And you can then try and get your accreditation with Saritech, which is the body that accredited professionals that would have taken that route. Then another one is I've left out quite a few under the green energy so that the slides don't become longer, but you can go and research renewable energy workshop assistant. Again, it's a technical skill, so it will be under the qualifications Council for Trades and Occupations, which that's what QCT stands for. That's the South African body that deals with technical courses or certificates. Subsequent to you acquiring that, you then register with Saratech or Green Solar Academy, which also offers those courses for learning on the job, and they offer apprenticeship, and they place you in companies, and you can then become your outcome can then become those jobs that I've just mentioned. Right, so it's a very simple process. You get the course. Once you finish the course, you get internship or work-based learning, either by being placed by the college that you'll be working on, or you look, but opportunities are plenty. You get your employment, and then you go straight to your career growth and specialize. So there's a quote there which quite interesting, which says that every stage builds momentum. Purpose is developed, not discovered overnight. So as I said, you can't be driven by passion or what others are doing, but rather you have to develop your own purpose and work through it by consistency and persistence, not just trying to work out something that comes overnight by not being patient. Right, how to apply for courses? You research, as we have mentioned. There's a list of event colleges which I mentioned. There's quite a lot of them. You apply online or you go through the Central Applications Office. That is a bit selective. It depends with your status or nationality, but you can also apply directly to these colleges or TVETs. You submit your documents that usually required, ID or passport, academic results of any of your previous certificates, whether grade 12 or A-level, depending on where you've done your primary and secondary education. Or you might require a SACCO certificate, which is issued by the South African Association of Qualifications, South African Qualifications Association, my apologies, which rates your qualifications to national standards, which you can also then use to apply for any other academic certificates that are higher than what you would have attained. They also require proof of address and any other certificates that you might have. Secure funding can be, in terms of securing funding, it can be self-funded, or depending on your status, you can also apply via NSFAS that funds students, or SETA learnership bursaries or grants if it's a SETA accredited course and under a SETA accredited service provider. Some, depending on the nature of what you would have chosen, offer grants that you can actually learn. They pay half, you pay half, or they pay in full. Then subsequent to that, you then enroll. So we've covered that under the funding. Then in terms of the visa process, once you obtain your letter of acceptance from the institution, the documents that are required or the documents that you need to gather is the passport. It's a very simple process. Passport, proof of funding, on how you are going to fund your education, and the medical insurance or medical aid, usually 1 year. When you start, or depending on the length of your course, if it's 12 months, they will definitely need a medical insurance or medical aid that covers the duration of the course. Then you apply your visa, normally at VFS or at any embassy or consulate in the country of origin. If you don't have an existing visa, you then be required to apply in your home country. at the South African Embassy or Consulate or VFS, because they use visa facilitation services, that company, instead of applying directly at the embassy. The processing time is usually 3 to 4 weeks. In a month, you have your student visa and you're enrolled and you are ready to start. Right, then subsequent to your graduation, if your skill that you've chosen for the purpose of this presentation, I've only selected those that are critical, because I believe those that will market you in and around South Africa and even abroad. If you do apply, if you do have a critical skills visa subsequent to you graduating and getting a job, you then register with a professional board. For example, EXA Engineering Council of South Africa, if you've chosen engineering, it then enhances you into becoming a professional somebody, depending on the board that you, depending on the course that you have chosen. There are many bodies, but each of those critical skills that we listed there have got their own bodies. Be it quantity survey, be it project management, be it mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, they fall under different bodies. And it's once you get that, it's an automatic path to becoming a permanent resident. Then those are some of the salary opportunities, and this is in the South African industry. For the courses that I mentioned there, it's not exaggerated, it's real. If you research, you see it. Then from data scientists, software developers, civil engineering, or civil engineers, electrical engineers, financial managers, knowledge analysts, that's the salary band that you'll be expecting. So let's not sit on our hands. There's money to be made. Right, opportunities, where are they in South Africa? It's the mining, infrastructure, tech, as indicated earlier. There's a competitive salary in these scarce skills, and you have a competitive advantage in the employment sector. If your skill is critical, then in Africa, again, those courses that I've said, they're not only critical in South Africa, but they are also critical across Africa and internationally in the areas that I've indicated earlier. There's opportunities in the diaspora, UK, Canada, in the European Union, in the Americas, New Zealand, and Australia. Then once you get there, or once you finish, you prepare for success now by tailor-making your CV to the requirements of whatever jobs that you'll be applying for. You create a LinkedIn profile, you set up yourself for interviews using the STAR method. There's something called STAR that prepares you for an interview before the actual interview. If you just put the job description there and the role, it prepares you for the question that you anticipate to get, which then makes you it gets you to a competitive advantage when you actually do the interview. Then also another key thing, once you graduate and you're looking for work, you have to attend networking events. That this is where you normally meet people that you didn't know, because you need to expand your circle, because outside your circle is mostly where you get the work. That's the end of my presentation.